following is a fan-based video review under fair use. Skull Island Reign of Kong is owned by Universal Creative, Universal Theme Parks, Universal Orlando Resort, Universal Pictures, Wingnut Films, and Peter Jackson. Please support the official release. What's up? It's BigJackFilms here, and welcome back to the King Kong review series. If you were a kid growing up in the 90s, then chances are you grew up with some of the greatest films of that decade. And if you grew up with films from that decade, then chances are you've been to this place, Universal Studios Florida, now more known as Universal Orlando Resort, which has some of the greatest attractions in the world, including Back to the Future the Ride, Earthquake the Big One, Jaws, Ghostbusters Spooktacular, really? Jimmy Fallon the Ride, and of course Kongfrontation. Well, Jack, 12 years of malfunctioning and technical problems gone. Oh no, it wasn't malfunctioning and technical problems. It was the mummy that killed the beast. Okay, all jokes aside, Kongfrontation was the piece de resistance of Universal Orlando, and when it closed in 2002, people were pretty bummed out to the point where I've overheard several people at the park complain and mourn over its closure. And that was 15 years ago. You'd think the loss would have worn off by now. And with him and other attractions closing their doors for the new, the park always seemed to decline in the recent decade. But with the massive success of the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, the park has sort of bounced back, but it never had the classic movie magical charm as it had in the 90s. Well, no doubt thanks to the 90s nostalgia phase of recent years, Universal started to get a clue that their older attractions have had a massive impact on today's guests. So wanting to return to their roots with the advancements of theme park technology, the king has finally reclaimed his throne with the massive production that is Skull Island. Reign of Kong! Based on the 2005 remake directed by Peter Jackson, and with the success of King Kong 360 3D in Hollywood, Universal Orlando got its turn to explore the jungles of Skull Island with its $145 million attraction, complete with safari trucks, scary mazes, giant monsters, and a life-size replica of the island's wall. So naturally, I'm hyped as hell to ride this damn thing, given my fandom for the giant ape himself. In fact, I could just give you my full in-depth review by filming my first ride-through. In fact, that's not a bad idea. Hang on a sec. Oh my god! This is so cool! Oh my god! What is happening? Holy shit, that is huge! Oh my god! Oh, guys, it's Kong! Unbelievable! That is huge! The ride and my review. I just saved you guys thousands of dollars in vacation savings. We'll see you next time, folks. Bye. What?
Come on.
Sweetheart, wasn't my reaction enough? I mean, do you even know how hard it was to sneak a camera in there?
You're trying so hard.
Look, I really don't want to overanalyze the thing. I mean, I need time to progress my overall thoughts.
Well, I have no choice but to force you then, huh?
Got it!
Don't disappoint me again.
Yes, dear. Jesus. Okay, here are my thoughts. So how does Kong's return to Orlando compare to his reign of the Golden Age in the 90s? Well, the first thing I should address is that it's definitely a warm welcome back to the norm. Cause ever since Confrontation's closure in 2002, the park has slowly started to lose much of the charm and magic it once had. While the E.T. Adventure, Jurassic Park, and some of the original stage shows still remain intact after 25 years, the attractions that made the park, for the better lack of a word, universal, have suffered immensely. With the closing of 95% of its Golden Age rides, it's felt less like Universal Studios and more like licensed land. Almost every attraction here is no way a Universal product. The Simpsons, Shrek, Harry Potter, all of these seem like they would fit better in a Six Flags park. When people go to Universal, they go with the intention to shake with the fury of Earthquake, fly with E.T., learn the secrets of Alfred Hitchcock, scream through time with Doc Brown, face the attack of Jaws, and of course encounter the eighth wonder of the world, King Kong. I mean, the damn monkey was the reason Universal was able to catch up with Disney in the theme park business to begin with. So to close him down or burn down his entire castle is a little insulting. In fact, if he were a real king, he'd probably have you beheaded. Or in this case, squished. But in more recent years, most notably since the closing of Jaws, Universal has started to listen to the fans and have been putting together attractions based on their own properties. Hanna-Barbera/Nickelodeon reopened with Despicable Me, Earthquake is getting the Fast and the Furious treatment, and Ghostbusters/Twister is getting... It's Jimmy Fallon the ride! They don't understand how this is supposed to work! And with the success of 360 in Hollywood, it only seemed natural that Kong should return to Orlando. And comparing these two rides, holy crap did Orlando get the better deal. While most fans thought that the Mummy was gonna get the tomb and Kong would return to his former home, Universal decided it was much better in terms of space to put him in Islands of Adventure. And where would they put this magnificent beast? Right next to the other Universal Dinosaur Island.
King Kong?
Okay, well they just barely squeezed it in there. I gotta admit, putting it next to the Jurassic Park section is pretty appropriate for the Jungle Adventure section of the park. But whereas Hollywood only got a little display exterior of the environment, Orlando had the actual frickin' wall of Skull Island! And my god is it massive! In fact, I'd say it's to scale, and if Universal ever considered making another Kong film, this makes for an excellent good-to-go set. The detail is exquisite, even the frickin' queue, which also acts as a scary maze. No, seriously, they actually have actors dressed as natives come out and scare you just to heighten the experience to feel like you stepped on the real Skull Island. Which brings us to the plot of the ride. It takes place in the 1930s as the Eighth Wonder Expedition, has landed on the island with a mission to chart the prehistoric environment. Now I know what you're thinking. Where exactly does this take place in the timeline? Before or after the events of the film? Well, if you do own the 2-disc special edition or the more recent Ultimate edition, seriously, why is Ultimate a thing now for home video? There exists a mockumentary called Skull Island: A Natural History, which goes into further detail of the island's history and the adventures that followed after the events of the film, in which there were several expeditions that took place in the mid and late 1930s. There was even a promotional reality web series called Myth Explorers: The Quest for Kong, which showcases host Aaron Ryder exploring Skull Island in the present time, which makes no sense since according to the lore, the island sank after World War II. But that doesn't stop Ryder to come up with a bigger bullshit what if than the Aliens guy from the History Channel. So think of the series as King Kong meets Ghost Hunters. It's fake as hell, but laughably bad and entertaining. So it only seems fitting that this attraction is one of the expeditions that traveled there, and as guests on the set, we are to play the many men and women who traveled on the ships to join the adventure.
Not enough men to handle it? Not enough. 3 times more than the ship needs. I don't see where they're going to have room enough to sleep.
And as we enter the ride, we board a series of large jeeps that take us on our journey, which seems fitting for a ride vehicle since the Hollywood version was part of the tram tour. And the vehicles themselves are pretty impressive, especially since they're the first ride vehicles to not be on a track. At first I was a little concerned about it since back in 1990, when the original Jaws ride was in production, the boat had to be controlled by a legit captain, which meant timing on the effects were mostly off-cue and kinda awkward. But here, with the advancements of technology, the vehicles are on cue quite well. Which brings us to the ride itself, and I gotta say, what a much better experience than 360. While 360 was more of a test of the 360 3D simulator rides, which even then, why would you want to do a test ride with King Kong? Universal knew that they couldn't do the same with Orlando and expect a good turnout. And given the rising return of practical effects in movies and attractions, they went ahead and created a great blend of both the 3D simulator and practical animatronic effects. In a way, it's much similar to Transformers or Spider-Man. But this one goes the extra mile with some crazy insect-like creatures, creepy upside-down bats, and of course... Damn! Okay, I know it seems a little shoehorned in for some, but holy crap, a life-size King Kong animatronic! And Jesus Christ is he huge! It's incredibly impressive! I never thought in a million years I would be able to come face to face with a giant ape ever again. But this is the reason this version succeeds over the Hollywood attraction. The animatronics in this attraction were designed and built by the Australian company Creatures, who you may recognize as the high-tech effects artist behind live shows such as Walking with Dinosaurs and How to Train Your Dragon. This wouldn't be the first time they worked with Kong, though. In 2013, they created a life-size animatronic marionette for the King Kong musical, which, yes, once I eventually see it, I'll review it. But the animatronic for Reign of Kong is massive, and the advancements with technology show much more detail, realism, and tyranny for the ape I love so much. Except for one tiny thing.
Where's my banana breath? No, seriously, where is it? I mean, you went through all the trouble, all the effort, all the advancements in theme park technology to bring Kong back for a new generation of park guests and old fans like myself, and you couldn't even bring back the banana-scented breath?
I know I hate to nitpick on such a minor misstep, but come on! One of the most iconic things about Kongfrontation and the King Kong encounter was the banana-scented breath that stayed in the essence of the attractions. Even if you didn't see Kong, you could smell his presence in the air. Sadly, it's really missed here, and even if they did some refurbishments in the future, they could totally wire in a banana air freshener into the animatronic. Or better yet, place it in the screen since the split effect works so well. Little stuff like that would really make the attraction more nostalgic for me.
This, of course, leads to a few minor downsides I have about the attraction.
While the banana breath is a minor setback, a big flaw with the attraction is the screen sections. Yeah, sure, there are some new additions like the Batcave and the Spider Pit scene, which look great. The major Kong scene is just the 360 attraction, which is honestly a little downgrading. You gotta remember that Kongfrontation and the King Kong encounter were very different from each other, but still gave you the thrilling experience. This just seems like a shortcut for those who didn't want to travel to California. When I was hearing about the attraction, I was expecting something bigger in terms of sequences. Hell, I was thinking it would be more of a water ride, with some more animatronic dinosaur bits. I was expecting 3D simulators, which honestly mixed with the water ride would be really cool. But it just felt like they spent more money on the look of the attraction rather than the experience itself. There's also another major problem with the attraction that does deserve some explanation. And that is...
Where's my fucking King Kong photo op?
Another reason for Kongfrontation's lasting power was the infamous photo op where tourists could get a picture in the hands of Kong himself. And while there are several copycat busts out there in the world, hell, there was one in Hollywood for a little while, nothing matches the iconic feel of Safari Outfitters.
You see all this empty space here, Universal Creative? You could have easily put a photo opportunity of Kong and a Safari Outfitters here, rather than that little cart you got going on in the background.
I mean, Jurassic Park has several opportunities to pose photos with the dinosaurs to make the experience for guests more memorable. And let's be honest, Universal, nobody is going to attempt to take a selfie with Kong with your consent camera police presence. Well, except me.
But I guess the only way to take a photo in the hands of Kong is to stand where he once stood. No joke, I'm in the exact same spot where the hand was. Well, I guess there's no harm in trying Photoshop.
But aside from the nitpicks and suggestions that are worth the studio looking into for the future, Skull Island Reign of Kong is overall a pretty damn impressive and welcome return for King Kong in Orlando. And I will say that it far surpasses 360 3D for its massive scale, the incredible sets and detail, the advancements in theme park technology, and most of all for that amazing Kong animatronic. I have to say I really enjoyed myself, and the wait was well worth the time. If you're planning on riding any of the Kong attractions out there, this one is by far the best of the bunch. I'm gonna give it a good 8.5 out of 10. It's a fantastic attraction, but with a few tweaks here and there, it could be pretty damn perfect for me.
Well guys, that's it for me here at Universal Studios. Join me next time when we finally take a look at the latest installment in the King Kong franchise with Kong Skull Island.
Hey, let's try to have a little more fun this time, shall we?